Okay, here's how Miro works. See, it's amazing.
What's everyone doing at David's desk?
Ever since marketing started using Miro's collaborative online whiteboard, he thinks all our other teams should sign up.
Why?
He says Miro's making his meetings disappear. And if every team gets on it, that means even less meetings. They're using Miro for brainstorms, mind maps, customer research.
So could we use Miro instead of having another 100 meetings for every round of feedback?
Yep. You can comment, react to ideas, even leave a recording on the board.
And what about presentations?
There are Miro templates for that.
How do you know so much about Miro?
I've actually been using it all along. I just used a Miro board to plan the best vacation.
Okay, I'm on board.
See how Miro users save up to 80 hours every year by meeting less and doing more. Get on board at Miro.com with 3 boards free forever. That's MIRO.com.
Welcome to the Think Different podcast. That's right. It's a new week. It's episode number 43. And times are changing. And so is the podcast right here today. I already got spit all over my computer just because I'm so excited for today's episode. Ladies and gentlemen, since Vacation Tim has permanently taken a vacation, I know he's listening to this episode, things are going to get much better because that's right. We have one of our former colleagues here that worked with me at Apple right from the very beginning. He's been on this episode a couple times. He is a former creative at those Apple stores. That's right. If you did that one-to-one program, he was probably guiding you on the success of happiness with your Mac. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Mr. Frank Funk.
Hey, what's going on, Will? How you doing?
I'm doing great because guess what? We finally are talking for the first time this week.
Yeah.
Frank has already got like a strike on his record on joining this podcast because he somehow, some way blocked me, and every call, every FaceTime call, every message was not being responded by Frank. And I realized it today. I was like, I realized they're not being delivered. My text messages are not going through. Every call I make goes right to voicemail. And I realized this mofo blocked me. And I had to text him from my... No. And then I had to text him from my wife's phone. He finally responded to that. Even email didn't work with him. He blocked my entire contact.
I don't know how the hell I did it because I've been texting you all week and I'm like, what the hell, man? I thought maybe I pissed you off or you decided to.
Well, you certainly pissed me off today when I found out that you blocked me. Because I looked and I'm like, I know he blocked me. I know he did. And then I finally just said, I got to let my wife text him. He responded to that. And this is the first time we're communicating since I think my birthday.
Yeah.
Since we last talked. So There we go. So, happy birthday to me. Frank blocked me. So that's strike one on Frank.
Oh man, it's been a crazy week.
It has been a crazy week, but I'm so happy because I got my birthday gift this week. I'm finally gonna talk about myself and what I got from my home because the going thing was Tim would always tell me what he got in his home, but for my birthday I got the arcade 1-Up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle arcade game. If you remember the arcades back in the day, or if you go to Yestercades or some kind of arcade, I have basically a smaller compact version of that, but the graphics are there, the music is there, the design is there. It looks like I have the Ninja Turtle arcade game, the real one that you go in arcades, right in my home. It is so cool.
I saw the picture of it and I thought, wow, he must have been a good boy to have Tara spring for all those bucks to get that.
Well, Tara had a little help with the sister and the mother and father because it's a $400 machine. It is not cheap.
You mean they like you?
Yeah, they do like me. Yeah.
Wow. I don't know. I got to talk to them.
But ever since I got that game, it's been the talk of the town. People really want to come over. And, of course, COVID is going to prevent that. Although my neighbor did come over because he lives right here, so I didn't care. Yeah. But just having that. And then on top of it, I bought some, like, these cheap stick LED lights from Amazon. They were like $40. I stuck them on there. I have it on a timer. It turns green in the background, so now there's like a glow coming from the background of the arcade game. Really neat stuff.
So now maybe you have to get your that rat costume, right? Aren't you going to be what's that character's name?
The Rat King.
The Rat King, yeah.
Come on. This proves Frank has been here for 120 years, that he was not around the arcades or didn't watch the Ninja Turtles at all.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, okay, so there you go. He didn't even say Shredder. He referred me as the Rat King. So, fair enough. Well, Frank, we have to introduce you just a little bit. Even though you've been here in past episodes, if you go check out our older episodes on the Think Different podcast, we did a whole episode on Frank. We had it very early on. But Frank, introduce yourself a little bit about maybe like a 2-minute history of your time at the Apple Store.
Okay. Well, my name's Frank Funk. I worked at Freehold originally with Will, and from Freehold, I was a specialist there. I worked there for 5 years. Then I transferred to Quaker Bridge, and I started as a specialist there, and then went into being a creative, and recently retired, and here I am. We're right here. That's about as short as you can make it. And one of the things that I used to do on vacation, wherever we went, if there was an Apple Store in the vicinity, I would go to that Apple Store. And probably my worst experience was in Easton, Ohio. I went into the Apple Store, and they had absolutely no time for me, and it wasn't crowded at all. Yeah, I was really disappointed, because when we were out in Austin, went in the back, they gave me the tour. You know how they do, right? Well,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And in Easton, didn't even ask me, what store I was from. I had my card, my business card, and it was I was really disappointed. And even my wife said, "Boy, that's a turn off." So I don't know. But anyway,
Frank,
here
thank you for
I am.
getting us to a positive mood there, Frank. Thanks for putting us down. That you had a terrible experience at an Apple Store, which is funny because today's episode is all about Apple Store because of COVID-19. Every Apple Store was closed in mid-March. We are now starting to see the changes where Apple Store is now opening, and we're starting to get the idea of what these Apple Stores are going to be like going forward for at least a good amount of time. But before we get started with our episode, check us out on all of our social media. We did have all of our YouTube videos put up of our last couple episodes. I think I'm going to make a video on this arcade up because I think it's really cool that we make videos on some of the technology we have in our home that's non-Apple products. But we can talk about accessories that work great with your home. Is there anything in your home that you have that's like your not an Apple product, but it works with an Apple product that you love?
Actually, I do. I have 2 Nest thermostats. Yeah.
You got 2 of them.
Yeah.
My house can only do 1.
Well, I have my heating system is 2 zones, first floor and second floor. So I have one on each floor, and I can control them from the HomeKit.
Wait, you can control a Nest from a HomeKit?
Yeah.
How's that possible? I thought they're not compatible.
Well, you know what? Maybe you're right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I was going to say, you have to go to the app to do it.
Yeah, the separate Nest app. Yep.
I'm just trying to make sure you don't lie to our audience that you're the first person to have Nest working. It doesn't work with HomeKit. That's one thing I don't like is that it doesn't work with HomeKit. I got to go to a separate app, but it's meat and potatoes, baby. It's like I don't need the whole thing in one spot. I can open a different app and do something different. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the Apple Store changes. So now, Frank, we combined have been in an Apple Store up 20 years. That's a lot of experience.
Yeah, it is.
So if you think about it, that's longer than the stores have been open if you combine our experiences together of what we've been doing. So big changes here where, we never thought an Apple Store would ever be closed in our lifetime. It closes 3 times a year for Christmas, Thanksgiving, and Easter. And that was it. We didn't close for anything else. And, to see an Apple Store empty, to not be filled, is one of the weirdest things I could think of in my existence.
Yeah, every time you go into, in our experience, Freehold Mall or Quaker Bridge Mall, they're probably the main attraction in the malls.
I would think any mall. I don't think it
Yeah.
has to be just our malls that we worked in. It was any mall that we worked in. Apple stores are the number one store people go to, even bigger than JCPenney and all the other stores.
Yep. Yeah.
And now it comes to a point where, people have this technology. We rely on it now in a big way because we can't contact the world without these now. So, you have to have it. So Apple closed all their stores. Now, what we know is that anybody that worked at an Apple store got paid or are getting paid, which is a great thing for them. Awesome that you can work from home, you can get paid and not do anything. Lucky them. That's one thing I kind of wish I worked at Apple right now.
Yeah. You wouldn't have to replace any batteries. You wouldn't have to
Nothing. But what they are doing is anybody that wanted the opportunity can work for Apple Care Tier 1 support. So that's a little spoiler for you don't know, but they are giving Apple Care Tier 1 support so they can screen share into a computer. They can't control it, but they can screen share in and help you out for real basic stuff. Anything a little bit higher than a normal, how you do something is pretty much done with a Tier 2 level, which is almost at a Genius level of what would be helping you out. So the good thing is they don't have to go too far into a conversation. So what Apple did is Apple now has a brand new website. We're going to give you this website. It's apple.com/shop. And this is everything you love about their stores is online. This includes chatting with a specialist, doing Apple trade-in, no contact delivery, and Genius support. It's all built right on this one page. So, Frank, are you on that page?
I am.
Okay, so the first thing they offer is shopping assistance. They are there to chat with a specialist. So you'll talk to somebody if you have questions about buying something or questions about a product. They're there for you.
Anybody that has a question about an Apple product, they can either, try to get that information off of the store website, or if they really wanted to talk to somebody, if something was unclear, I'm sure they could just chat with a specialist if they wanted to do that. That would be very helpful to them.
I'd be curious to have a conversation with one of them just to see what it's like. I always tell people about products, look on YouTube and look at a lot of demo videos or a lot of people with their reviews on them, because I think that's very helpful, more so than anything else. I think really the idea of a specialist more so is to find the right solution for you, because they're going to learn about you. So hopefully that what they do on this chat is that they are actually learning about who you are, what you're using it for, and they give their opinion without selling you on anything. So I think the experience of not having that face-to-face contact is going to be a little different if on a chat.
It's going to be a little different, but I would imagine they're, like you said, they're going to find what you're using that particular product for. If it's a computer, what's your area of expertise? Are you a college freshman? What's your major? Are you in journalism, or are you in biomedicine? Which would kind of lean you towards one direction or the other. So if you're going to use it mainly for word processing type stuff, general use, then you could probably go with the new 13-inch MacBook, or you may want to jump to one of the bigger ones if you're more technical.
Yeah, we talked about it last week with Tim, and I explained to him that there's now a big price difference between an Air, a 13-inch Pro, and a 15-inch Pro, that now you can really dive into what you really need based on price. And then they are offering no contact delivery like everybody else. They do have a financing and credit option as well. So they explained that on the website about how to use the Apple Card monthly installments for iPhones, and then the Barclay financing, which has been around since I've been working there, which gives you up to 18 months on zero interest, which is a great value. That's a long time. 18 months is a long time to get that.
Yep. I'm surprised, though, that they didn't up that a little bit, because if you notice on TV and everything, you're seeing a lot of the auto manufacturers taking zero interest out for 72 months and, really long times. So I thought they might up it a little bit, give you 24 months or something.
Well, the other thing you could think of doing, too, is the Apple Card payments. You could do, without fees and anything, you could just use the Apple Card to buy everything. Plus, you'll get 3% cash back. So if you spend, over $1,000, at least you're getting something back.
Yeah. To tell you the truth, Will, since I got my Apple Card, I rarely use my Citibank card. I use my Apple Card for every chance I get.
If it's a personal purchase, absolutely, I use the Apple Card. Otherwise, I have my American Express on my card. I use that for everything mostly. And then they talk about Apple trade-in as well. I'll be honest, trade-in values are very small now. They're not like they used to be back in the day. You will not get a big value for this. Like I found out my first generation Apple Watch gets me $25.
Yeah. I was just looking at that because with the advent of the iPhone 12, I was looking, well, let's see what they're going to give me for my 10. $340.
And that's going to be lower when the new phone even comes out. That won't even stick.
I'm like, whoa. So I was a little surprised at that, but hey, what are you going to do?
Hey, you know what? I'm not surprised by it anymore at this point. Not to mention that they have the iPhone SE now, which is now like the newer, you could buy a phone for $400 now. So, I mean, reality is, unless you want the bells and whistles, for $400 you can get yourself a phone.
Well, I told my grandson he's looking for an iPhone, and I told him, well, he could give me what they're going to give me on trade-in. So he was happy. He says, well, hurry up, get the other one so I can get this one. And I'm like, well,
there you go.
The other one's
not
wait
for it to come
yet.
out. Let's wait for it to come out. Now, also on this site, they give you easy tracking so you know where your order is. They also have the Genius support. Now, I thought was very good because it gives you a direct link to the How Can We Help You page, where if you go to the Apple support page, you have to kind of scroll down and try to find it. This one kind of gives you a straight spot right to Genius support, which I like. And then they have the Today at Apple session. So they actually will...
Have you seen any of those?
I have.
Yeah, I saw a couple on photography, and to be honest, I was a little disappointed.
Why? Because I'll tell you my disappointment with it.
I just thought it was had no interaction with whoever was watching it. They didn't.
Yes.
They didn't
Thank
say,
you.
okay, this is about portrait mode. So let's open your camera, go to portrait mode, and show, give a shot of where that is so the user could see, and then kind of walk each step with the person. They just kind of presented some things and they said, do this, do that, and then didn't really give the viewer an opportunity to get to that point. It was very short, but I guess, they're working on it.
Well, I don't think they are. I mean, I'll be honest. There's 6 videos up there. Yeah. And it's really not... And it looks so scripted. Like, you could tell they're looking at a script.
Yeah. I don't know why they don't do the same thing they did with the specialists.
Yeah, I mean, some things... I think it depends on the session, too. Like, I watched a video one explaining how, a wide shot, a medium shot, a headshot is.
Right.
If the one you're referring to is the last one where it talks about how to get creative with your subject and surroundings...
Yes.
This one is like, at least it's her. I like that. And there are some things, maybe in this video I would like to, they're talking about the crop tool. So they are teaching, where I was going to the cinematic iPhone one, where it was just taking an iPhone at a scenery and just doing shots. And I thought it looked so scripted. They're explaining like how a dolly works, how a tilt works. And I don't know. I just feel like, it just felt like so scripted. That's why I don't like it. These aren't even on the website of like their YouTube page. They don't even have it up there.
Oh, no?
No, I would think they would do that.
Yeah. Or at least had them on each store page.
Yeah, something. It's just I think they're trying, but it's not a home run for me. I don't think a lot of people would be watching these. I think if you put them on their YouTube channel, they would. But the fact that it's just on this one spot that you have to try to find, I'm not feeling it. But that's the shop page. I like this page. I think it's very easy to understand. But let's talk a little bit about the stores that already opened up. So the first stores that started reopening operationally was I believe in China. But in Australia, they started opening. Let's talk a little bit about that. Some of the things that they mentioned in here, number one is lines. There is lines to get in the Apple Store, just like if you were waiting in line for an iPhone.
Yeah, and it's not just a line. The people outside, I would, at least from this area, you have to be 6 feet apart.
Yep, you have to be 6 feet apart. They are doing temperature checks. You obviously have to have a face mask, which I believe they're offering you. So that
Yes.
Apple is offering them as well. And then, so those are the big things that it's doing, at least in the Australia store. And of course, they're extremely reduced hours and staff.
Yes.
Now, the main thing they want people to do is for them to primarily be having people there just for the Genius Bar. That is really the only thing they want going on. Now, recently, they just opened a few stores in the U.S. Idaho, South Carolina, Alabama, and Alaska are a few of the stores that have reopened.
Now, Georgia, I saw today that they've had some cases kick up because he got a lot of flack for opening everything in Georgia. But if they have some more cases, I think they'll shut things down again.
Well, that's why you don't go out.
Yeah.
That's like that. So I think it should be one customer per person, per employee that's there. That's what I think. That's how I think they should do it. If for any reason you're going to be going there to buy something, I get it. Some people want to touch the computer. They want to touch the iPhone so they can see what they're really buying.
Right.
But to be honest, now's not the right time for that. In fact, I don't think many people are buying right now as it is. The only reason for me, if I ever wanted to go to an Apple store, is only the Genius Bar, and that is it. If my screen cracked or my battery was bad, that's it. Frank, there'd be no reason to go to that store.
I'm sure, Will. You've done this many times. You have somebody come in and you fix their Apple ID.
Oh, God, I hope they turn them away for that. Yeah, don't go to the Apple store if you have a freaking Apple ID problem. They can't do anything. It's so annoying about that.
Yeah, it was.
And this is where the line manager has to really talk to people about this and say, hey, do you have a backup? Do you know your Apple ID and password? Turn off Find My Phone right now. If you can't do that, you should not get in that store.
Yes.
Bottom line.
I think they should they should have a line for phone issues, a line for Mac issues. I guess that's it, right? It's either a Mac or it's a phone or iPads too, and then like you said, the line manager tries to have somebody out there and categorizing each item. So they say, okay, like you said, turn your backup off, do this, do that. And then that way when they get back there, they're ready to go. Because there's just no walking around the store and, waiting for somebody to call your name. I think those lines have to be all outside the store.
I'm curious if they are going to do the text message system or they're not right now. I don't know. It depends on the availability, I guess. Or if it's going to be like the old days where you have to just wait for your turn. That's kind of the only thing I can think of. Now, remember, you have to come back to the store eventually because if you're going to do like a screen repair, you shouldn't have to wait in that line again. So there's got to be a line for certain reasons. I think each person's going to be seen just individually at a time. I think that everyone's just going to have to get in the line every single time. Even if you leave it for repair, fix it, you have to go back in the line again.
Well, I think maybe you have something set up for like an express checkout, like they do during the holidays. If you know specifically what you want, that's over in this right-hand side area. You just go over there and get it. If you're here to pick something up, you can meet the person out in the front of the store. What are you here for? I'm here to pick up my MacBook. All right, what's your name? They text somebody in the back, so-and-so's here to pick it up. And then if it's done, at that point, they can say, okay, send them back. That way they're just going in, getting it, getting out. Well, let me see where you put this file. What was the problem? What did you find? Anything else different? It's just pick up your machine and get out.
Now, I did read that they are doing, I believe they're still doing some kind of Today at Apple, but the chairs are very separated. So that'd be kind of confusing. I wouldn't expect that for them to do that.
I'm surprised at that too. Unless they're doing that at the independent stores, they can't be doing that at the malls. mean,
I don't know. You know, I'm hoping not. I mean, there's no, I haven't read anything regarding Today at Apple actually happening. I honestly think it'd be better just to leave them home. I don't think anybody's coming in for a Today at Apple session.
Well, I mean, if you think of, you know, if somebody's coming in and they don't have a Mac or they don't have a phone, you know, and we would supply them with one to go through the session. I mean, you can't be cleaning those things, you know, every 5 minutes. I mean, who's going to want to sit there and say, well, was this machine sanitized? Did you put this through the ultraviolet lights to make sure there's nothing on it? You know, I think people need to take a step back and say, well, I'll go do those things in a couple months. Or if they have a sign-in where you can do a Skype session or, you know, something like that where somebody can lead a session, a video session, where people would do a call-in.
I cannot imagine, though, that they're going to use a third-party technology to do this, especially one like Zoom where they've had so many issues. Like, Apple would have to develop their own platform that would allow screen sharing and that would allow them to talk to the people at the same time.
Yeah, I think this is a big opportunity for Apple to really beef up, either create another app like Zoom or beef up FaceTime.
Well, I think a good idea right now is to go over each role in the store and what the changes are going to be due to COVID-19. I think starting off with the creative, since together we probably spent the most time doing that role. The biggest change I know, Frank, is that you want to be able to do Today at Apple at home. And the only way I see that working is if they build something in the back of a store where an employee could be there. They have their own setup, right? And then they would showcase whatever they're showcasing on the keynote on the screen, or watching them live with their face with it. And that way you could see their face, you could see what they're doing on the phone or on the iPad, and then you could see an image of it. So it's almost like you have to see three things: the person, the device, and what the device video out is producing.
Yes,
screen sharing out.
I would add one thing. I would think it would be done with two creatives. And the other creative, if somebody in the session, rather than trying to talk over everybody, they could...
Like a monitor?
They could send in, they could chat a question in.
Yeah. I think I think it's a great opportunity. Honestly, I really think we would get more people doing Today at Apple. But remember, the goal is to get people in the store. That is the goal. So I don't know how this convinces people. You don't have to try to convince me and say, well, how does this convince people to come into the store to learn? Well, that's kind of hard now, you know, and I don't know how easy it's going to be for a creative role. This is another problem now with the creative team, where we were transitioning from one-to-one into this Today at Apple where there was nothing to do. And then this is kind of like that new transition. What are creatives going to do, you know, to combat this? I mean, I'm hoping they're going to continue going forward with it. I still think there's a value in creatives. I just think that they have to find a way to reach a bigger audience, even though it goes against what the original intent was.
Right, because you still have to maintain that customer base. And you can go into this with the idea that, hey, this is not going to be perfect like when you come into the store. This is a stopgap measure. So it's going to have some bumps in the road. It's going to be better than not doing anything. But to get the real experience, once you get going with the product, come on in and we can really dive into some of these software and technical issues and phone type things that you want to do with your device. You know, I think it's just going to be kind of whetting their appetites and then say, yeah, now come on in. And then we can all interact again like we used to.
Speaking of interaction, Geniuses probably have I would say the most interaction with the customer. So some of the changes I see happening is, number one, is the customer is going to be touching their phone the entire time that they are going to have a session with a Genius. I don't think there's going to be any way that Genius is going to want to touch it or do anything with it. Or if they are, they're going to have to use alcohol or pads, or they're going to be wearing gloves to possibly have to do everything.
I think it's going to be. Do you remember when somebody would bring in a machine and say, "This is environmentally dangerous," and the specialist would put on gloves?
Yep.
I think that's what they're going to have to do all the time.
They have to. It's going to have to be gloves, face masks to do everything. I also think now part of the cleaning procedure, if let's say they bring their phone to the back, they're going to have to sanitize the workbench. Every single time there's a person leaving, they have to sanitize the workbench every single time. They are going to have to wear gloves and a face mask every single time. They are going to have to alcohol wipe down the entire phone before they put it away for pickup. Everyone in the room has got to be separated probably even more than they used to be. So I think like the workbenches now in one of our stores, they probably had enough for like 5 people in there, maybe 4. I don't think you're going to see more than 3 now in there at a time. I think they're going to limit how many people could be in the room at a time because you always have a Genius admin in there. So that's one. You're probably going to have at least 2 technicians in there all the time for repairs.
That's got to be it.
And then probably the lead genius, and that's it.
I wanted to ask you a question. You were talking about sanitizing these machines. What about those UV machines? Do you think they'll bring any of those in?
I think the material that we use to clean it's called Swish. That was the
right
that used to clean it. Swoosh. Actually, I'm sorry, Swish. It's called. That's what we used to clean everyone's iPhone when we were done with them. I wonder if they would work under this environment. I don't know if they do or they don't. I'd have to look up the material. But I wonder if they're going to change that so that they can have the correct stuff to clean the phones with.
Well, I've been seeing a lot of these advertisements for these UV machines now. You know, you put your phone in this machine, you close it, hit a button, and these ultraviolet lights come on and sanitize the device. I don't know if they work. I don't know if it's just a gimmick thing. Mm-hmm. But if they do work, and they are legit, I mean, could you see them getting 6 or 8 or 10, whatever, a couple out on each of the tables in the back, plus in the Genius room?
I think if it took up too much room, no. But if it's very small and doesn't impact how long the turnaround time is going to be, I think it all depends on how long it takes to do that. I mean, honestly, if in my opinion, I'd be very happy with just using something to clean it with. I think a UV would just be too long for pickup. Now let's talk about back of house. So back of house definitely is going to have to, I wonder, are they going to have to wipe down every box that comes in? I mean, they're definitely going to wear gloves, that's for sure, especially on cardboard. But now, are they even though there's cellophane around the material, I don't think anybody's really physically touching it. So I don't think they're going to have to go that far with it. They're definitely going to be wearing gloves, that's for sure.
When they come in, they're actually in 2 boxes.
Right.
Let's say like a MacBook Pro, right? You have a brown box, and you open that, and inside that is the Apple box.
Well, it depends on the model. I think iMac has something like that, but not the MacBook Pros. They usually just come in one box, and they're surrounded by the foam that keeps it in place. But there's only one per box.
Well, because what I was thinking was they wouldn't even take them out of the brown boxes. Mm-hmm. Just put them on the shelves in that, and then when somebody wants one, then they take it down and take it out.
Yeah, I think we'll have to wait till more stores open up to see what kind of changes the back of house team's got to deal with. I'd be very curious how the business team is going to deal with this too. I mean, they're going to probably focus more on online sales now. I don't think their role is going to change too much. I just don't think there's going to be as many meetings in the store. And then and those briefing rooms now, some stores have those briefing rooms. They're going to be worthless.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're worthless now.
Unless it's a very small group. You put the chairs 6 feet apart,
I just do not see a reason to use that room at all. So I think that room is done.
That may be an opportunity for the creatives to utilize that room for a video conference.
Maybe, but I just don't see them. It's not in front of people, so I don't know how much. Like I said, the idea of today at Apple, they want people to see that. Briefing rooms are kept privately away, back behind the store. So again, I don't know how much the brief room is going to be helpful anymore. But the biggest theme is the specialist now. That shake hands, that warm welcome with the shake of the hands is gone.
Yep.
It's over. It's gonna be elbow pressing time. So we're using elbows to do everything. I think the day of bags might be over. I don't know if bags are gonna be an idea anymore that people want to use. Apple's already fading those out anyway, but
they went from the plastic to the recycled paper. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's going to be like in some of the grocery stores, bring your own bag.
Yep. That's good. Some places already charge for a bag. That's obviously happening in California as an example, but that changes everything. So that's pretty much every role. Genius Team, I incorporate the service specialists in that too. I'm not leaving them out.
Talk about the managers. Think of the size of the manager's office.
Yeah, that manager's office is small. I would tell you almost every Apple store has a small manager's office that at least fits probably up to 3 people, but they're very tight in there.
Yeah,
they're not 6 feet apart, folks.
Being 6 feet apart,
they're not. No, they're not.
So, I don't know how that's going to work.
Yeah, I just think there's going to be less. They're just going to take 2 people in the office, and that's it. And that's all you can fit in there at a time. And older Apple stores are worse, by the way.
Yeah.
The last store we worked at definitely had room for 3. The first store we worked at, definitely 2 the most.
This is going to impact malls in general, Will.
And, God, yeah.
I just read that Neiman Marcus is leaving Freehold. And there was one other restaurant up at Freehold that's leaving.
Ruby Tuesday is the only other restaurant there.
No, is it Red Robin?
They have a Red Robin there? Oh.
Yeah, I think so.
Really? I never saw that.
Well, it might have been relatively new, but
wow.
So now Neiman Marcus was a big anchor there.
A lot of retail stores are going to go out. A lot of Apple stores. There's no more Apple stores in malls, folks. I don't know if you noticed, but the last few years there has not been a new opening in an Apple mall, unless it's like maybe overseas. But beyond that, definitely in the U.S., they have not opened another Apple store in the U.S. for years in malls. So they want to take old architecture and turn that into something, and that's what they want to do.
Yeah, like they did in New York with Grand Central.
Yes, they're putting them in buildings that have some kind of architecture to it to make it, and they adapt in the environment that they're in, which I think is really cool. They are able to kind of adapt it. It's really awesome. Like going to the Grand Central one is really cool. It's so unique compared to like going to a mall one. And that's where the biggest problems are going to be now is if malls are dying, which we know they are, but Apple stores are not dying in malls. And that's the one thing that they still got going for them. In fact, if anything, this is the opportunity to expand in the mall and get more room to do more things.
Yeah.
So,
at a cheaper square footage rate.
Oh,
that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. Well, Frank, I think we kind of got everything we need to do about the Apple Store changes. Please make sure you find out on your Apple Store site when they're going to open. Usually if you go to the actual page of the Apple Store site, they'll tell you like the opening schedule and if they're open or closed right now. So like right now, I'm just looking at our last older store. And right now it says that they are closed. So just keep an idea on how you can get help. Use that site. Use that site of theapple.com/shop. And I think that'll be very helpful to you to get that help. And then we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, you know what I've been using a lot of, Will, to tell you the truth, is the Apple Support app on my phone and the Apple Store app on my phone.
Yep, you have those too.
I used to put them on every customer's phone or ask them to put it on there. They tend to be very invaluable if you have a problem, or if you just want to do shopping.
Yep, I would absolutely use it. That support one definitely. That should be like on everybody's phones. In fact, that Apple should put that on everyone's phones the moment they open up their stuff.
Part of their core apps.
Yes. I agree. I think Apple Store is, but not Apple Support.
Yeah, Apple Support. Yeah, the Apple Store, there's some sort of legal thing that they can't put it on there. But Apple Support, they certainly could.
All right, Frank, that was our first episode with you on the Think Different podcast as a full-time podcaster.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I enjoyed it. I really did. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's just some things I need to refine, and I'll listen to this and try not to say you know.
Oh, don't worry. Don't worry. Like I said, Vacation Tim did all that too. Don't worry about it. My biggest thing is saying for me, and basically, those are the things I say all the time. Don't worry. Happens on everybody's podcast. The more podcasts I listen to, I pick up on those little things.
Yes.
So, Frank, make sure you tell everyone, if anyone wants to reach out to you, I believe you have an Instagram?
Yes, I do.
Okay, no one joined it. All right, everybody. We want to thank you for joining us for the Think Different podcast, our 43rd episode. We appreciate you guys still sticking with us and joining us on all of our social media platforms on the Think Different podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Which on Twitter, it is at ThinkDiffPod. And then check out our YouTube channel. Even Frank can learn something on there.
I can learn anything, anywhere.
That's right. All right, Frank, we want to thank you for joining us for this week. We want to thank the fans for coming out and listening to us. We hope you guys have a great weekend. And Frank, thank you very much again for becoming the new co-host of the Think Different podcast. And thank God you're better than that other guy that I don't remember his name.
It's my pleasure, Will, and hopefully things will go nowhere but uphill from here.
Jake Knapp is the inventor of the Design Sprint and the New York Times bestselling author of the book Sprint. He's also the co-founder of Character, a venture fund for early-stage startups. How and why did you start using Miro?
I came from this position of thinking, I don't want to be doing stuff online, to thinking now when I do a sprint in person with a company, it's like, we're going to use Miro, even though we're all in the same room, because that's a better way for us to get this work done. As an investor, we're basically investing in their ability to solve problems. We're saying, we think this group of people is going to be able to solve a problem in a really great way and create value by doing it. And actually, you need to give people the tools that can help them make decisions, help them collaborate, help them visualize and see things in a different way. And Miro does all those things. So to me, at least as an investor, I'm thinking, give the team the tools that are going to help them think, that are going to make the most, brighten their skills as smart folks. And Miro is at the top of that list for me.